Celebi EX has emerged onto the scene as one of the most hyped up cards in Pokemon Pocket, all thanks to its powerful Bloom attack. It hasn't quite met expectations so far, but this deck is still viable in many regards. I'm Vagabond from 4HeartsTCG, and today we're going to take a look at the best way to play Celebi EX in the Mythical Island format. Looking at the pros and cons of this deck, you'll quickly see why Celebi hasn't been performing as well as people thought during Mythical Island's release, but also why it's still revered as a deck with immense potential. For starters, the damage output can achieve ridiculously high numbers. Powerful Bloom is the only attack in the game that can consistently hit numbers north of 100 damage without discarding energy, and in some scenarios even reach 300 or more damage. On top of that, thanks to Celebi's synergy with Serperior, this deck is highly energy efficient in regard to attack costs and retreat costs. However, the current drawbacks of this deck make it very hard to compete with the top decks in the format. For starters, there's very little guaranteed damage, which makes the early game extremely hit or miss. Due to Powerful Bloom being a coin flip attack, much of the early game is spent hoping you can hit the minimum amount of flips required to secure an early knockout. This is especially inconvenient because most non-EX basics have at least 60 or 70 HP. This means you'll need 2 coin flips to knock them out with 100 damage instead of 50. This generally weak early game is remedied by slotting in Exeggutor EX, which we'll discuss more later. But even that isn't a perfect solution. The second issue is that it's a stage 2 reliant deck, only reaching its full power with a fully evolved Serperior on the bench with no means to easily find it. Ultimately, this deck really struggles into some of the top decks like Mewtwo, Gyarados, and Charizard because they can all reliably one-shot Celebi while you're stuck flipping coins trying to return the favor. Moving on to the cards, we'll first take a deeper look at this deck's primary attacker, Celebi EX. Celebi is a basic Grass-type EX with 130 HP and the powerful Bloom attack. For 1 Grass and 1 Colorless energy, Powerful Bloom allows you to flip 1 coin for every energy attached to Celebi. The attack then does 50 damage for each flip that landed on heads. This attack makes Celebi inarguably the strongest attacker in the game on paper. But in spite of its high damage output, the coin flip requirement is one of the biggest reasons this card struggles against other high volume attackers. Additionally, Celebi doesn't always have the bulk needed to sustain itself before being fully set up. That said, with a little bit of luck, Celebi can turn games from impossible to definite wins. In order to make up for Celebi's weak early game, Exeggutor EX is most commonly used as this deck's second attacker. For 1 energy, Exeggutor's Tropical Swing does 40 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. However, 1 coin flip before attacking can increase this attack's damage to 80 instead. Against decks that open with non-EX basics like Koga, Blaine, and Aerodactyl, this coin flip really defines your momentum moving into the mid-game. However, Exeggutor's main value actually comes from its HP. 160 HP on a stage 1 Pokemon serves as a strong wall for a glass cannon like Celebi EX. The final key Pokemon is Serperior, all thanks to its Jungle Totem ability. This ability causes every grass energy attached to your grass Pokemon to count as 2 energy instead of 1. This works perfectly with Celebi's powerful Bloom attack, as it makes every energy attached to Celebi provide 2 coin flips instead of 1. This is what allows this deck to reach its absurdly high damage output in the hundreds somewhat consistently. The final Pokemon we'll look at is another option for a secondary attacker. Dhelmise is an interesting option for more offensive variants of this deck. The added effect on its Energy Whip attack allows you to do a guaranteed 90 damage for only 2 energy with Serperior on the bench. This is a really strong attack, but Dhelmise's 100 HP isn't the best for covering Celebi's weaknesses. Moving on to the fill cards, Poké Ball is an obvious inclusion for this deck. This card allows you to search out Celebi and Snivy for your early board state to start attaching energies onto Celebi and evolve Snivy into Servine and Serperior. The next inclusion here is Potion. With this deck's reliance on Exeggutor and Celebi's frail nature, you can't really afford to stack up too much chip damage in the early game. Only healing 20 damage may seem insignificant, but it's really helpful for navigating knockout scenarios and playing around Giovanni. The final fill item is X-Speed. Retreat costs aren't felt as much in this deck compared to others, but X-Speed will allow you to switch out Exeggutor for only 1 energy when Serperior is on the bench, as well as cut out Celebi's retreat cost entirely. Moving on to the supporters, Professor's Research is as mandatory for this deck as any other. Deck thinning and utilizing Professor's Research and Pokeball efficiently is crucial for this deck's success, as there's no way to search for Servine and Serperior. It's also helpful to draw into Erika as fast as possible to have heals in hand. Speaking of, Erika is the only other supporter you'll need to run 2 copies of. As we discussed earlier with Potion, this deck has to avoid chip damage if it wants any chance of closing out games. Erika can make Exeggutor very frustrating for opponents to deal with, as well as keep Celebi alive in clutch late game scenarios in case you miss otherwise crucial coin flips. Sabrina is a really good offensive inclusion that will often minimize the amount of coin flips required to secure knockouts with Celebi. It's not really worth using Sabrina defensively in this deck, as you should already be playing 2 Erikas, so reserving Sabrina for the late game to close out battles is the best way to utilize this card. The final card we'll be looking at is Leaf. Leaf makes it much easier to swap out an opening Exeggutor or a Sabrina Serperior trapped in the active without attaching any energy. This is great for more aggressive playstyles that don't want to waste any turns not attaching to Celebi. If you're looking to play Celebi EX, then here's the list we recommend. 2 Celebi EX, 2 Serperior, 2 Servine, 2 Snivy, 1 Exeggutor, 1 Execute, 2 Poké Ball, 1 Potion, 2 X-Speed, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Erika, and 1 Sabrina. That wraps up our Celebi EX deck profile. If you found this video helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out our socials and join our community on Discord too. Good luck in your games, and thanks for watching.